All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we got a question on our mind. What is up with Dave Chappelle? There's been some rumors that he might actually be performing on behalf of one Andrew Yang. So we're going to be diving a little bit into that, along with some other observations we have about other comedians and why there's so many of them that are supporting this very same Andrew Yang. Why? What does it all mean? How does it affect our daily lives? Cody, tell us what is going on.
So I guess we'll start off here. This is going back to early December, I believe. Oh, yes, early December. So some Twitter users were tweeting out that at Dave Chappelle's North Carolina shows, he actually was talking openly about Andrew Yang and saying that he supported him for president. Now, like I said, I had seen this going back about a month now, but it was, unverified Twitter users. No reason to believe they're lying. It's just I never saw any video, never got any proof of it. So for the most part, just kind of, tucked that away and waited to hear more. Well, then it comes out a couple days ago. This is the best source I have on this again, so I don't have any confirmation from Andrew Yang, but I'm assuming this Ben Mitchell character was at the fundraiser at least. He said at a fundraiser in New York City, Andrew Yang tells supporters that Dave Chappelle will be doing 2 Yang Gang shows for the campaign in South Carolina. Little interesting that people were saying that he was talking about Yang in the Carolinas, North Carolina, but still in that general region at shows. So lends a little credence. But like I said, for right now, this is probably the most solid evidence we have of this happening. I'm assuming it will. All I know is I get a press release from Andrew Yang whenever I got one today. Cameron Kasky, I believe is his name. I think he's one of the kids from the shooting in Florida who is now a political activist on the internet as well. He is going to be actually campaigning for Andrew Yang. So I get press releases about stuff like this. So I'm still waiting for the release, just saying that no reason to believe it's not actually happening, but maybe there's scheduling conflicts. Who knows? But someone on Twitter, and I hope I have this tweet brought up something really interesting, and I wanted to hear it is. So shout out to Josh Thompson on Twitter. And he said, do you remember when Andrew Yang forgave Shane Gillis? Maybe Dave Chappelle, Hannibal Buress, Eddie Griffin, and others noticed, referencing that there's multiple comedians who are. And so just a couple more things here, and we'll get into a little more. So for those of you who don't remember, back, when was this exactly? In September. Shane Gillis was a 31-year-old stand-up comedian who was named last week to Saturday Night Live cast. He had mimicked characters with Chinese accents, and he had used racial slurs in the past. However, even though he was fired from the show, Andrew Yang supported them. He actually put out this tweet. Not supported, but he said, Shane, prefer comedy that makes people think and doesn't take cheap shots, but I'm happy to sit down and talk with you if you would like. Looks like they never actually, I don't believe, had this publicly, but he says, he reached out. And Dooley mentioned it later on here. Once he was fired, okay, I don't want to show that. But once he was fired, Andrew Yang actually did some out and said, I don't think he should have been fired. We can go through this whole thing again. I think we did a video on it in the past, so you can check that out. But I just wanted to bring up this incident where a comedian had done some previously offensive stuff, and Andrew Yang said, hey, look, I don't hold it against the guy. I think he moved forward. Stuff like that, which was a little bit different from the average reaction. He wasn't on board with him being removed from the show. Actually, Andrew Yang took some heat for saying, I don't think he should have been fired.
Yeah.
So, interesting point.
Well, so did we on this show.
Well, yeah.
I said I'm so sick of cancel culture. I almost and then a bunch of people said what he said was really horrible. And I was like, are we looking at the same thing? I actually remember on the live stream that I had doubted that I'd seen the video in its entirety because of the people's reaction. But I'm just like, I don't know. I'm tired of that, the whole cancel culture thing. And I think that's demonstrative of the emotional intelligence of a lot of Andrew Yang's approach to both politics and life that makes people trust him. I don't want to say like him, but trust him. And I think that's why the Yang Gang is so supportive, because honestly, if you're a young kid especially, and you've grown up and now you're an adult, you're a young adult, your entire life you've watched these grifters fail and watch their policies yield failure. And when you look up on that stage of people saying, I want to be the president of the United States of America, who do you actually trust? You know what I'm saying? Who do you actually think is in it for the right reasons, and they're what you think of when you think of a president? Like when we film 24 and there's the distinguished man who's, like a person of service and of strength and fortitude and wisdom. You know what I'm saying? You're not thinking that's Kirsten Gillibrand. You're not thinking that's Kamala Harris. You're not thinking that's Joe Biden. You're not thinking that's Bernie Sanders. You're not thinking there's you're looking up there and you're just like, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced by you guys. But it's small things like this that make that garner trust, and that trust is important.
Yeah, well, I just think a big part about it is a couple of things. One, I think, no offense, but I think by and large, most people are tired of being told they have to hate someone and demand they lose their job they've never heard of before. I think in general, people are like, honestly, I'll be frank, the Shane Gillis thing, I didn't really feel that need to seek out everything he said and is this right, is this wrong? Because I was just kind of like, dude, I don't watch Saturday Night Live and I don't care who they hire. It sucks someone lost their job for something, but a lot of people are pretty indifferent to this stuff. So I think Andrew Yang's not being indifferent, but standing up for comedy. Because I'll admit, I'm pretty indifferent, but Andrew Yang's standing up for comedy and saying, look, this is, I understand what they're doing. Because I can't play the video because I'm almost sure it'll get copywritten. But Dave Chappelle was just given the Mark Twain Award, I guess. Gave the speech for that. I think they published the speech on YouTube a couple of days ago. Go check it out. I'll try to have the link in the description. He basically talked a lot about this first 3 minutes of the 8-minute speech. He's kind of talking about the cultural stuff. And he talks a lot about the kind of, there's comedians who sees like, I know there's comedians who say mean offensive stuff and mean it, but comedy's also an art form. So I don't
It's like I can appreciate where they're coming from in the artistry of their performance.
And I think Andrew Yang appreciates that. But I think Andrew Yang also might be attracting some of these more comedians. Because one thing, there was Hannibal Buress tweeted out, I believe he said, I think someone spoke about Bernie Sanders, and he said, thanks, man. I'm still Yang Gang, though. Maybe you can be the wise advisor and help us out on Zoom meetings. However, ever the promoter, this also could have been Hannibal Buress promoting his Miami Nights stand-up, which it actually is with the end of the tweet. Just saying. But then Norm Macdonald over the last few days has been tweeting out, another comedian. I love Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, you're a Norm Macdonald junkie, man.
Yeah, big fan of his. That Andrew, you are who we need. The year is 2020 and your vision is perfect. And then he tweeted out, I got it. How about this? Yang 2020 vision. But I guess this one, sorry about that, guys. Let me show you guys on screen this stuff. I'm just reading it myself. So here we go. Anyways, thanks, man. I'm still Yang Gang, though. Maybe you can be wise advisor. That was Hannibal Buress. Right here, we have a couple of tweets from Norm Macdonald. Andrew, you are who we need. The year's 2020 vision is perfect. And I got it. How about this? Yang 2020 vision. But something else I wanted to show, I think, is something else that people see about Andrew Yang. They kind of like. Andrew Yang is a fun guy. He's not one of these stodgy people. Because there's another thing, too. It's one thing if somebody who's kind of a fun, playful person sees you something like, hey, you know what, man, that was a bit over the line. But it's another thing when some no fun scold who hates everything. It's like, dude, everything's over the line for you. Why should I listen to you? So here's a video I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen. This is the classic whipped cream gate video of Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
But I also think there's something about the way Andrew Yang carries himself. He had a tweet a couple days ago, I believe, where he said, I officially endorsed myself for president. I think when he was doing some other endorsements, like he has fun in this video right here. I don't know if you can hear the audio in it, but he actually says, I'm a full service candidate as he's spraying the lip cream. Like he has fun and he jokes around. So I don't want to downplay the kind of, the essence of what Humanity First is for the Andrew Yang campaign. This idea of like, Dave Chappelle said in his thing, not to go back, but I just think it's interesting the notion of Dave Chappelle supporting Andrew Yang and potentially going fully public with it soon. He just gave a speech saying he's never seen the country like this before in his life, and it's gotten too tight, and I think he said we need to let some air out. And I think Andrew Yang, like I said, what other presidential candidate, I'll give a shout out to Gillibrand for the beer pong video she posted on Twitter, but I don't know. It's like, I think, and it's not only this, there was him crowd surfing I can pull up, but there's a lot of moments where Andrew Yang is just legitimately
I don't think the country is craving somebody that can beer pong. You know what I'm saying?
Like yourself, right?
I'm just saying when we need to loosen up, I don't think we need to loosen up with beer pong. We need to loosen up with not judging each other and chilling out in the first place so we don't have to drink beer in order to chill out. You know what I'm saying? Like we want somebody that's pointing the fire extinguisher at the base of the flame is what we're looking for. And I think that's honestly why Andrew Yang has endured. I think the freedom dividend and democracy dollars are really cool, big revolutionary ideas. But nothing is more powerful than a revolutionary thinker and idea man who also has the personality to pull it off. That's why Ronald Reagan was so popular. That's why JFK was so popular. Because they were the ideas mixed with the personality of believability.
Yeah, well, I wonder what you have to say about this. Again, I have the video pulled up from crowd surfing. Again, this looks like someone who's having fun running for president. At the time, I was actually wondering, is he having too much fun? But I have a question for you about this.
Okay,
there's been a lot of times where we've been, I guess Dave Chappelle referenced it himself, that we've been closer culturally, generally speaking. It hasn't been this culturally divided in this country in a while, right?
Yeah.
Would that not make a candidate like Andrew Yang? He's got great policies, but I think people are really going to go and vote for a cultural leader in this next election more than a policy leader. I really do. Because I think your average person, here's the thing, they can do their best up there in the media trying to go about tax codes and this and that. And your average person's got so much stuff coming at them through their day-to-day life. What's the government? What's my choices? What's a company ripping me off? What they
So what's
can.
your question?
My question is, do you think Andrew Yang would play better in a election that is more based around people looking for a cultural leader for this country? He's got great policy. We love it. I'm a big fan of UBI, but I wonder, do you think that's going to help or hurt him? I think that's a big, I honestly believe a lot of people will vote based on it.
So in one sentence.
I think in previous elections, we've been closer culturally. So policy really was the dividing line for candidates. Us being so divided culturally now, would somebody who would be more of a cultural figure that people can get behind be something looking for? Because policy is almost hard to discuss when you don't want to live in the same country as your neighbor. You know what I mean? It's like, why are we talking tax codes when I don't think you have a right to live in my country?
That's a really good question. I think what I'd say, obviously, you could think about this for a day, but the short answer for me, that's a really, really good question. The short answer for me would be, I don't think a purely cultural leader could actually get elected. When you study culture in the United States of America, they've actually found and mapped, you can look at maps online of the 5 predominant cultures in the United States of America and see where they pervade geographically and so on and so forth. And there's actually 5 dominant ones. So I think for you to truly be a cultural leader, you would be forced into some kind of regionalism that would make it so that you could be a force to be reckoned with, but not the force to be reckoned with. I think really to get elected, you have to be a cultural and a policy leader. But along the lines of what I think was informing your question, I think your cultural presence is becoming more and more and more and more and increasingly important as our social fabric erodes, because all these things that used to hold us together, that we used to find in common, are now just gone. So we're trying to reach out and grasp straws of other things that bind us together. And that's why you see these bumper stickers now. I've seen bumper stickers around that literally say, any functioning adult 2020. You know what I'm saying? Just like we've gotten so low.
Or is that the inverse of the giant meteor of death? Remember from 2016 or whatever they called it? People was, I'll vote for the giant meteor to destroy Earth, I guess, instead of Trump or Clinton. I guess we've got more positive right now. It's someone competent at least.
Well, and then also though, at least see, even that bumper sticker gives me a little bit of hope though, because it shows that there still is an underlying definition of what makes a leader, and they have to at least be a functioning adult. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we haven't completely torn the social fabric. It is thinned and it is frayed, but it is still there.
Well, you know what, too? I wonder a question. You think about someone just quickly. Think about someone who's been a 15, 20-year-long senator. Not even senator. Just if you're working in politics for 10, 15 years, your life is kind of receive donations, run elections, have everything basically paid for you, right? Their healthcare, I believe, is through the House or Senate, whatever it is. Or if you're governor or whatever. I mean, that's where your residence is not, but I mean.
Or you were already living a life of such independent wealth that the salary didn't matter.
Yeah, but you don't have people like Andrew Yang who remember, he ran a business, sold it for a lot of money. He released his finances. He's like worth $1 million because his house is essentially. I mean, it's like he's not somebody who sold out, got rid of everything. He was somebody who was running a business and there's, having to worry about, I'm sure, the actual stuff real people worry about. You think about somebody who's basically had the state kind of take care of them and then they go out and campaign to make sure the state can, but that's roughly your thing. It's an interesting way of phrasing it is taking care of oneself, because I do understand they have to pay for their own rent, but I do wonder how much a senator or congressperson is really, taking care of themselves when I'm sure a lot of that stuff's kind of just done through the state, oh, here's the appointment you go to. Yeah. Here's the doctor you see. I mean, it's almost like they don't have to be one of those millennials like, why can't mom make an appointment for me for the doctor because the government's done it for him? I'm not saying that way it is, but I do think it's interesting with just the idea of outsider candidates haven't had that. Everything's been just basically provided to me because I'm a government employee. So my employer is the government. I think it's also one reason why a lot of them do just want to go believe in social programs so much, because they They benefit. I mean, just I don't know. Just they get
Well,
paid
they
by
don't
the
benefit from them because they exempt themselves from them.
No. The idea being that that's how they live. Is they're like, well, yeah, I get paid by the government. My healthcare's through the government. Like, that's basically what they do already. So why don't we expand that to everyone? I could see it from their perspective, but it's not. It's kind of like celebrities who don't actually live in the real world. Our politicians don't really either. They fly from their constituency to DC and back all the time. And then when they're there, they're in the Senate or the House. I mean, it's not. We got way off topic here, but I think it's the reason why Andrew Yang is relating. Look, dude, Norm Macdonald
there's that trust
isn't
and
the
that
kind
relation.
Of comedian, that will just randomly vouch for some. He's not like no offense to any of these people, but he's not like one of those like Marvel actors who will just get a call from the producer like, hey, can you shoot a spot for X candidate?
Yeah.
Like I'm assuming he would say this because very least interested.
Well,
Well, last thing is I'm not convinced he isn't joking yet because he's a kidder, but. I don't know. Interesting. Just seeing comedians come out.
You also brought something up, and I've never really thought of it this way, but the absolute opposite of a detached, unfamiliar with the real world politician is a comedian. Because what makes a comedian funny, like when you actually study observational humor, because usually in the United States of America, when we say a comedian, we predominantly think of stand-up comedians. We don't think of like clowns that are doing physical and slapstick humor, though that is
jesters.
comedy. Yeah, we don't think of jesters. When we think of comedians, we really think of stand-up comedy. We don't even really think of improvisational comedy.
Or writers, right?
Or even comedic writers. Yeah, when we say, oh, I'm a comedian, instantaneously we think of a man, a microphone, and a spotlight doing a Netflix special, okay? Or back in the day, an HBO special. But anyway, that type of comedy is actually what's called observational humor. There are people that are making observations in a candid and humorous way in order for us to laugh at it and share in that experience. And the most successful comedians are the ones that can get into the trenches of daily life with people the most. The ones that can actually dig into somebody's soul and say, hey, I'm noticing this. Are you noticing it too? Yeah, let's laugh together. And the more broad and specific of an observation I can make, the more people will laugh, which means the better comedian I am. So literally, I think you can't really name any other member of American society that is actually more in tune with the daily man's life, besides the Daily Man himself, than a comedian. Can you think of somebody, Cody?
I mean, probably, but not top man. I think there's gotta be
it's the antithesis of politician.
No, I agree
so the fact that the antithesis of politician is endorsing you, I think that carries a lot of weight. And we've watched a slow gravitational pull towards comedians in our society. I said this a lot at our FM 98.1 show, and I've said it a lot on our show, that America used to listen to politicians and laugh at comedians, but now we laugh at politicians and we listen to comedians. So I actually think more and more and more and more beyond just the pop culture bully pulpit. I think more and more and more there's going to be not a predominance, but an interesting weight placed upon what comedians think. That's my prophecy. He's Cody the Oracle, Cardin the Prophet.
Okay, I mean, I just think along the lines of what you brought up. There's the idea, definitely big time. That one thing you'll notice too is, like I said, I'm not 100% convinced that Norm Macdonald isn't making fun of Andrew Yang because he's a comedian.
Yeah,
right?
this might just be some big old.
Could be a rib, but the larger thing is that you'll notice that there's I think the best way to describe it is this. Again, I think Hannibal Buress might have actually been promoting his Miami Nights show. Who knows? And Dave Chappelle has not actually gone 100% public with this, and neither has Andrew Yang, but he's apparently saying it at shows, right? What I mean by this is you can almost sense like the trepidation of these people where they're like, we're not like campaigners. Like there isn't like Dave Chappelle is not just coming out being like, oh, I 100% endorse Andrew Yang because I'm comfortable just coming out and endorsing candidates for president and telling everyone who I want to vote for, Some of these people, I think it's funny. They have to kind of they're easing into it. Like he's saying it to people at shows, allegedly. Andrew Yang is, telling fundraising crowds, hey, we have these things planned, but nothing's going public yet. I think it's kind of funny. There's a little bit of kind of whoa, I don't want to go too public. But it is, I think what you brought out is, Andrew Yang feels like a normal person, so he's relatable. Yeah, I think somebody said something really interesting once. They said they saw Andrew Yang give a speech and who lets somebody with empathy run for office? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who lets a real person actually? And I think that is what we're getting sensed with someone like Andrew Yang. Other people sense it. So again, potentially 2 fundraiser shows that will be done in South Carolina by Dave Chappelle for Andrew Yang. I wish I could confirm it, but like I said, we've talked a lot about just why Andrew Yang seems to be appealing to comedians, especially now when I think which is only natural. I mean, there has been a bend for years towards, you can call it censorship or whatever, just caring about other people say a lot. I think the more I look at it, just people are really caring about other people's thoughts and words a lot nowadays, more than ever. They're gone are the days of why would I care what that moron thinks, and now are the days of they should not be allowed to say it. So I think as that's happening, we're seeing comedians looking for, the natural correction back towards where we were before. It's how things go, It's one of the reasons why. If a bill or policy gets passed you really object and really don't like, don't worry. We have elections every couple of years and we change this stuff, hopefully. So nothing's, stuff's not permanent.
All right. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. Comment below. Is this the future? I don't suggest that actually, comedians are going to run our political discourse, but I do think as influencers, what these people think will carry more weight.
Hey,
so
comedian's the president of Ukraine right now.
A comedian is the president of Ukraine. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
He played a comedic show where he was the president on his show.
It was like a sitcom or something like that.
He named his party after the show.
Oh, that is hilarious. I forgot about that. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. If you haven't had a chance yet, please like the video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.